So I'm on the way home. On the way home. I'm supposed to be at work at 6. It's 7 something. Shoot. Oh, I'm so tired. So tired. So tired. But I'm not going to claim that. I'm not tired. I'm just not tired. So, so yesterday, first of all, my princess is going to be turning 7 pretty soon. And I'm planning to take her somewhere really nice tomorrow. I told her we're going on an adventure. We're going on an adventure. She's like, adventures? I like adventures. I'm like, good. Get your things, let's go. So, and lately we've been, doing some really great things, and I'm hoping that she'll be tall enough this time that she can actually get on a that she can actually get on a roller coaster. So it was so funny because last year I tried to sneak her on. Yeah, this is not good as a mom. I tried to get her on one of the roller coasters, and I sat next to her, and I said, it's not like it's looping around. It seemed pretty cool, and I saw other kids like smaller than her that got on it. And my daughter, she has a thrill for roller coasters, and we were on the roller coaster, and we were almost ready to go until somebody said, I need a height check over here. I was like, oh, we gotta go. So of course we got off the roller coaster, and she did not understand. She did not understand why she couldn't get on, so she was crying and screaming and hollering. And one thing about my daughter, if it's not going her way, she doesn't care who's in front of her. She's going to cry. So I just I put her on the little kiddie roller coaster, but she wanted to go on the big roller coaster. So hopefully she'll be tall enough to actually go on the big roller coaster or whatever like that. So anyway, yesterday I was talking to my daughter. And so now, she's of this age where technology and let me see your phone, and she's playing these video games on my phone, and I mentioned something about her dad, and she said, my dad, like she's been realizing, and I her photos of her father. And then it's so funny because I showed her a photo of her father, and I said, that's your dad and that's you. She looked and she said, cool. She never asked. I mean, I know she mentioned before, she said, oh, he's lost. Like in her mind, she's thinking the reason why he's not present is because he's lost somewhere. I just didn't even say anything. So yesterday, I showed her photos of her as a baby and her father holding her. I said, who's that? She said, Mommy. I said, who's that? That's Daddy. Like she's smiling, and I mean, her face just lit up. And I played her a video of when she was a newborn, and she was crying, and her father piano, which I may just put a link at the bottom. Her father started to play the piano, and she just stopped crying. And I was like, her reaction was just like through the roof. Like my daughter has such, you would thought the sun was right like behind my daughter, the way she smiled, and she was just so excited, and she was like the baby. And then she showed her grandmother and my mother when she saw that video. I think because my mother never saw the video before, I think my mother, she was like, that's your father. And I think my mother got, I mean, like she wasn't crying or anything like that, but I can sense like she was just like telling Symphony, like, that is your father, that is your father. And Symphony was just like really excited, like, oh, now I get it. That's my mother, that's my dad, this is me, you know? And she was naming photos. That's grandma, that's granddad. And so she was really excited about that. I mean, she was really excited about that. Like my baby's face just lit all the way up, knowing that she was a little baby, and she was crying. And I saw you was looking for milk, crying, and your dad played that piano, and you went to sleep. And she was just looking and just smiling and giggling. And after that, like today, I kind of got a little frustrated. Not kind of. It's just my daughter, she's about to be 7 years old. And then I thought about her in another 7 years and another 7 years. And like, she didn't deserve that. I don't know. And then at the same time, when I was saying slick stuff under my breath, God was like, okay, Mona. And I'm like, all right, no, I don't mean that, Lord. I realized like that was so long ago. And it really was not that long ago. It felt like it was yesterday. It felt like it was yesterday. And for the long time, I wanted to send a note or a letter or something, but the reason why I will not do it is because when a person walks away from you, and I have to say this to those of you who are put away, or somebody gave you a bill of divorce, when they walk away from you and they have no contact whatsoever with you. Not, hey, how's it going? How's my daughter doing? Is it okay if I can speak to you? See my daughter? They just have no type of contact. To me, like everybody I know, including like my dad, my mom, people I know that got a divorce, even folks that I knew that suffered from like heavy mental issues. Everybody came back and apologized. Like my dad, before my father passed away, I said, Dad, how come you never apologized to Mom about everything that you ever done, committing adultery, leaving, all of that stuff? You know what he said to me? I did apologize. And I'm like, really? So we had a long talk. And then I asked my mother, and she was like, yeah, he did. And I'm like, okay. My god sister, her husband left her and went out and galloped in the wind and did whatever and left her with 2 children. It was bad. And not too long ago, he came by and apologized. And I was like, that's interesting. And as a matter of fact, my husband then, he did the DJ for her wedding and everything. When she got rid of her husband, and now she's just basically like, she acting like that marriage wasn't even real, and it was. But the thing is that they said, well, he suffered from bipolar and schizophrenia. But even in his craziness, he made it all the way back to his wife's house and knocked on the door to see his wife. And I'm like, even he came back. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and put it like, oh, it's not going to, because I'm sure that it's a lot of y'all who went through, who got put away and your husbands came back. Those are great endings, I think, and even if it meant to come back around for the children, like I hear stuff where they're co-parenting, but you're still able to see the man that you marry, even though it's not in that light. Like the person I married, it's like that person is a ghost in a sense. Like, I can't even describe this. No contact, no nothing. And it just kind of frustrated me, because I was talking to the Lord, and I'm like, Lord, everybody, her husband came back around, The kids was able to speak to their father. This one came back around. They were able to speak to the father. He apologized. She apologized. They reconciled. That's a great thing too. But it's just like, I think it's, I was listening to this, channel called Runaway Husbands. And the lady, her husband basically dipped out on her and she didn't even see it coming. She was ready to cook him some dinner and she asked him, what do you want? He said, I can't do this no more. And she was like, oh, you don't want any fish? Like, he was like, no, I'm leaving you. She was like, what? It came out of nowhere. He filed for divorce and he left her and never turned back around. And a lot of women dealt with those things, and that's why she called it runaway husband. Somebody went to leave, an email. Do you think it was because this person has commitment issues because they were abandoned when they were young? No. In a nutshell, she was saying people just don't care. They don't care, because if your husband really cared that he left you, that he abandoned you, then he would have come already with a sincere heart, like, I'm sorry. But he didn't. So the no contact, the reason why I won't knock at a door or send a letter or whatever, the reason why I won't do that is because if you walked out that door, you have to be the person to try to come back to the door. I cannot make you, because I remember when my husband left, I was begging him, don't do this to us. I was telling him, like, look, I'm your wife. I felt like that lady off of Diary of a Mad Black Woman. She was like, it's me. How could you do this to your wife? And when that person just says, I don't want to be bothered, leave me alone, I'm shutting down shop and getting away, and I'm going to act like you don't exist, it's hurtful. And it made me upset for a split moment, because my daughter does not deserve that. But then God also showed me, but Mona, your daughter is alive, and then she wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for her father. So, I was just battling and going both ways. And I'm just like, Lord, everybody else got an apology. I didn't get not one thing for all of these years. And God reminds me, Mona, it's some people that don't even come to me. They don't even thank me, even when I bless them, when they were at death's door and I stopped it. They don't come back to me and say thank you, or even come back from their wicked ways and come to me. And I think about stuff like that, and I'm like, all right, Lord, all right. But it's frustrating, because even with the women who talk about the runaway husbands, and the woman who actually wrote the book, I forgot her name, Runaway Husbands, they still think it's okay to remarry. They think it's okay to move on with their life and get another husband. But it's not that case with me. And I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I do get a little frustrated that, I am getting up there and I can't have no conversation with nobody. But then again, I'm like, everybody crazy out here. So it's a good thing that I'm staying this course. But y'all get what I'm saying. Sometimes you would like a happy ending. Sometimes you would like a, babe, I'm sorry. Like, I was wrong for, abandoning you. I was wrong for putting you and our daughter out. I was wrong for putting my parents before you when I took your hand and promised you until death do us part that I'll love you like Jesus loved the church, and I ran over you. I'm sorry. So I realize I'm not going to get that. I'm not, because some people, I feel like some people really despise you so hard. They're like, you're never going to get that. I'm like, fine. It's cool. It's cool. It is what it is. But it is frustrating when my baby, when I'm looking at her and I'm just like, he's missing out on it. But you cannot make somebody be something that they don't want to be. and that's to be a good father. You cannot make somebody, you can't make this person out to be, because a good father loves you. He's there. I mean, even my father, I remember talking bad mess about my dad when I was young. You ain't never did, you ain't never this and the third. But when I look back at all of that, I had way more communication, way more visitations, way more time with my father than my daughter has ever had with her own father. And when my father went on to be with the Lord, I realized I talked to my father like my father was one of the main people in my life. Like that was, if I spoke to anybody out of all my girlfriends that I would call on the phone, hey girl, what you doing? How you and the kids doing? My dad was like, hey dad, what's going on? What did you eat today? I'm a stop out and drop some groceries off. What's going on? Me and my dad can talk for hours, be laughing and joking. Like I loved him, and I realized like he was a good father, and he said that before he paid, he said, mark my words, he's going to be back in your life. And I looked at my dad and I said, I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm not going to hold my breath. And then I told my dad, I said, Dad, I mean, how am I supposed to look forward to him coming back when you weren't even there for my oldest sister, until she was basically grown. So I'm supposed to look forward to Symphony's dad coming around when she's practically like 25 years old. So it's like it's a frustrating thing, and you do want to, and sometimes you do get frustrated when you just be like, God, this ain't fair. This dude don't deserve a daggone thing. Until God reminds you of you, and you think you deserve better. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. So these are the thoughts I be like, oh, okay, Lord. All right, I'm not gonna complain. God has to remind me, Mona, you're not lacking in anything, are you? No. You lacking in your finances? No. You lacking with a roof over your head? No. You lacking with your food? No. You driving a new car? You lacking in that? No. So so what's wrong? And I'm like, you're right, Lord, you're right. Because there's a lot of folks that's out here, with hubby and wife, and they going through a whole lot of turmoil. It's just that an apology will go a long way, if you know what I mean. Hearing from somebody will go a long way, and sometimes you just have to, and I guess that's the reason why you have to forgive, because when you forgive, that covers that apology. It's all rolled up in it. You already forgave it. But some people, I was listening to these women about runaway, husband left, and some of y'all say y'all been in it for 20 something odd years and 25 years. And it's just like I have to be very honest. Sometimes it's frustrating. At the beginning, it was hard to even believe you telling me I'm gonna have to go through my remainder of my life, and the only person I can deal with is the one who despises me and hate me and don't want to deal with me, don't want to talk to me, don't even want to see how his child is doing. You really telling me that I'm one flesh with this person, and they are the way that they are? Are you kidding me? But the reaction that my daughter had about her father was so innocent. It was just so like the reaction that she had when she saw the photo of her father, she said, "Oh, cool!" Like she's so like she was like, cool. And then when she heard him play that piano, she said, oh my goodness. I mean, her face just lit up, and it was just pure like sweetness. Not, well, where he at? It was just so pure. It's just that I think them ages is going to come when she's going to be like, where is he? And it's one thing when you carry mama, but it's another thing when you carry your daughter. And she may not ever know. Because when people don't want to be bothered, they really honestly don't want to be bothered. So anyway, so I was listening to this video about the runaway husbands, and the lady was like, well, not a right. If this person does not have an inkling or know that you're waiting and they do not care, then you don't want to contact somebody who really does not care. So, like my example, I've done so many videos. I know that my husband has seen the videos, but his motto is out of sight, out of mind. I know he has. I remember years ago when we went to court, they wanted to put a gag order on me because of the videos that I was doing. So it doesn't matter what I say, is that bottom line is that what he has shown over the years is that I don't care. And it is frustrating that you still have to honor the person who does not care for you. It is, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be very honest with you. Like, this walk is hard. It's not hard to the point that it's unbearable to walk. But it's like, you know, as a woman, you have to think all of the things that you cannot do because your husband no longer wants to deal with you. You can't be intimate. You're basically shut out of having children. I mean, I've suffered losses, so honestly, I feel like I did my part in and me and him, like, you know, being fruitful. We got babies in heaven and our living child. But if I wanted to have a son, that's been stripped away from me. But then again, too, I look at it like, with the way this government want to shove all types of mandates down your back. Woe to the woman with child. It's a hard time to have, you know, newborns and stuff and try to protect them, you know, because how the family is structured these days. But anyway, so I was a little frustrated with that. I'm not even gonna lie. You can't sit up here and tell me. I mean, some days, don't get it twisted, some days I'd be like, it feels good to be by myself. You know, it feels wonderful. But then when I look at my daughter, like, she, you know, it would have been awesome for her to know her like, to meet her dad, and for her to be able to speak and know, like, this is my dad. And I know that if he was that kind person that I knew back then and she met her dad, she would have been a daddy. She's a mama's girl. She would have been a daddy's girl for real. I'm talking about for real, for real. My daughter she's spoiled, but she's a sweet spoiled in a way. She's not spoiled like, oh, she gets everything. Like, she's so sweet. But that kind of like frustrated me. It really did, because I just thought, I'm like, Dad, you let 7 years, like, all the whole purpose of seeing your child when they're newborn, when they're crawling, when they're running, when they're, you know, learning new things and everything, is to be there along the way so they can remember you. I'm grateful for my father. I am, because I could go back to kindergarten and first grade, where my father used to go on field trips with the school and be sitting on the bus with me. And I'll never forget, he made for lunch, he made some fried chicken. That fried chicken was good too. Now that I can remember the taste of that fried chicken. That's before they started using all them daggone hormones and things. But I remember my father going to you know, on my field trips and stuff with me. When I learned how to swim, my father taught me how to swim in 8 feet. I was scared to swim across, and he was like, just go, I got you. And I was like, Dad, you sure? He was like, yeah. So I hurried up and dove in, and I was swimming and swimming and swimming and swimming. And when I got to the other side, I looked up and my father was on the other side looking at me. And I said, you promised you was going to swim with me. He said, you was going so fast. But in a nutshell, he was making sure that I got across, and if for any reason, if I stopped or whatever, that he was going, he was going to get me. But ever since then, I started swimming. I just started thinking about all of those things that, my daughter, and I guess it's sometimes we want people to be what they're not. I wanted him to be her dad and to be in her life, and he allowed 7 years to go by. And I even showed a friend of mine the video, and she said, what are you going to do when he comes back around? I'm like, it's been 7 years. I'm sorry, but it's not like I've lost faith in, it's not like I've lost faith. I have no faith in man. I have no faith in thinking that in the next day, the man that I married, the father of my daughter, is going to walk through the door. I'm being very real, because when you get to a point when a person does not want to be bothered, they shut you down. They don't even want you to email them. They don't want you to be a part of whatever. It's because they really don't want you in their life. And I never thought that the man that I married, that I loved so dearly, I never thought that he would do that. I mean, I dealt with some jokers out here. But I chose, and I said, okay, I give my hand over into marriage to him. But I never thought, if I had to put my name on it, I'll be broke. If I had to put money and say he would not do it, I never saw it coming. And that's the reason why it's shocking to me, because I like the way that the lady explained it with the runaway husbands, is that some people didn't see it coming. Like others was dealing with issues where they said, well, I'm going to do a divorce. You going to do a divorce. But some did not see it coming. Like I did not see it coming. When my husband left all them years ago, his mother said, he's just going to stay over here for the day, just so y'all can kind of get a break, and then he'll come back the next day. I still have the recording. Matter of fact, I shared it with y'all when I went to do my father's DVD, his slideshow. A recording came up of my mother-in-law voice. We were thinking, and I, like a like a little kid, I was looking out the window waiting for my husband to come back. And he never came back. But I thought maybe, okay, he'll come back the next day. Next day turned to a week. Week turned to a year. A year turned into 3 years. And here we are, basically 7 years. I'm doing great now. I mean, God has blessed me. I depend on God even more. I depend on God so much so. That's a main reason too why I'm not going to be disobedient to God and go out here and commit adultery and be talking to some other whatevers. Is because I was so hurt by my husband abandoning me like that, and everything that I was going through, the only person that I could hold on to was God. And I love him so much for bringing me out of that sorrow and that depression, because a lot of things will start messing with you too. And I've said this in my videos, like you'll start to feel like, am I not attractive? Am I ugly? Did I not cook right? Could I have done something? You start to second guess yourself. You start to really be like, and what was that with me? You know what I mean? You start to really think that. And I'm not gonna lie, I had a dream. It was a couple of years back, and in the dream, I don't know who it was in my dream. I never seen this person before, but they said to me, you're a very attractive person. And I was like, I am? And they were like, yeah, you're a very attractive person. They didn't say it like in a flirtatious way, but they just gave me an assurance that you are. And I was like, really? Because when you go through something like that as a woman or a husband, you start to really feel like, damn, well, excuse my mouth, like, dang, am I, you know, like, dang, you really would carry me like that? Um, but yeah, I was really frustrated. I was really frustrated. I was. And sometimes I'm not even going to fake. I have my days where I'm just like, I'm doing me. And then I have other days where I'm just like, her father's missing this. And then I have other days too where it's just like, one thing I do know is the older we get, the more we start to see those older than us, die off. My father's gone, my grandmother's getting up there, my mother's getting up there. I started to think, because I got really good friends in there. Sooner or later, a couple of years, they're about to be empty nesters now. I was the last of the Mohicans, so I still got a couple of years with my daughter, but when she gets in her 20s and stuff like that, it's going to be gone. And then, me and my mom, and if she's gone, I don't know, I just started thinking all of these things. But then, I mean, those are the things you think as a single person, a put away person, somebody who can't date and whatever. But then again, like I said, I see a lot of these men and women out here who are single, never been married before, and they're having a horrible time in the dating scene. They're having a horrible time. Anywho, and another thing too is that when you don't see a person that much, and this is what um you know, when you don't see a person that much, you really don't. I mean, you think about them once in a blue moon, but that time and that space grows. And the I think I think the sad part is when you may have a respect for them, you may Christly love them, but the love that you had before, it just starts to when you used to hear the person's voice, you or the name, you get butterflies. But as that time is just gone in between, it's just like, oh, you know I hope they're doing good. I think that's the most saddest part, is when you stop loving that person. And what I mean by love is like that googly, that type of love, not that committed love, not that I love you because you kin folk love. I love you because you one flesh. I love you because Christ told me to love everyone, including my enemies type of love. I think that's the really sad part about it all. Because it is a reminder that as the days go by, the time goes by, the years go by, the birthdays, the events, when it could have been all of reconciliation, but it takes two people to reconcile. You can still be in love with somebody, especially if it's your husband. But time does come in between that. You may not be that same head over heels type love. You see what I'm saying? You may be like, I hope they're doing good. I still got love for them, you know? It may not be that same kind of, oh my goodness, that there they go. There he go. You know, it may not be that. It may be like, that's my child's father. I don't want to see anything bad happen to him. Like my mother situation. When my father died, she just said, "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry for you. I'm so sorry for your. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for you and your sisters." And I'm looking at her, but how do you feel, Ma? You the one who married them. You the one who became one flesh. You know, my mother even said, like, that's not my husband. And I'm like, well, if that's not your husband, then what you saying is Jesus is a lie. Is that that's what you're saying? I said, now you're a widow. I know, and I think it's because she was hurt. She was hurt because my father did not come back for her. She was hurt because she had to raise 4 kids on her own. She was hurt because she had to bury her only son, you know, and my dad and my mother, I never forget, at my brother's funeral, they were both sitting at the front pew, and my father, you know, he walked in with his, you know, second wife, the adultery, and my younger siblings, her children. And here it is, my mother sitting up here having to bear that she has to bury her son. You know, my mother was hurt. She was hurt by a lot of stuff. And so she didn't shed a tear until his ex-wife passed. And she said she just felt really sorry for the kids that they lost their father and a mother. But I asked her, how did you feel? Do you feel any different now that you're not one flesh? Does it feel like, I just wanted to know, does it feel different, like something detached from you? And I think about myself, like, I think about it in this way. Am I going to be the same as my mother? When you get to the point where you're just like, it is what it is. I married him. I became one flesh with him. He chose a different life, a different path. He rode, he left, I forgave. It is what it is. Because that's how I'm feeling now. That's how I'm feeling. Like, some days it's just like, oh, and then, you know, other days it's just like, oh, whatever, I got stuff to do. Like the other day, I'm not going to lie. A couple of days ago, I was praying and asking God, you know, for this, for that, for that, for that. And then it dawned on me, I didn't even pray for my husband. I didn't even ask God, can you work on us to reconcile it? I'm not even asking that no more. Why is that, Mona? Probably because I've already asked it. And I know that if it's in God's will for this to happen, and that everyone has free will, and if my covenant husband does not want to be bothered with me, that's a free will that he has. So I'm still going to live in peace. So let me ask for the other things, you know, because I've already asked for those things. And I'm just being truthful. I'm not saying this to discourage anybody. But some of you will have your husband walk through the door with roses and on his knees saying, I am so sorry. Could you please take me back? Some of you will have your wives knocking at the door like, I don't know what I was thinking about jumping over the fence, but you are the real deal. Some of y'all will both get on the phone or meet each other at a shopping mall just randomly and say, I've been thinking about you. Me too. Let's reconcile. And there may be others that we are to remain unmarried and living a single lifestyle of the unmarried, not seeking to be married and never to marry someone else because we're already one flesh. You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying, right? I'm just I'm just telling you my true thoughts and feelings on this. You know, when my babies did not make my melody and my harmony like crazy. I asked for a miracle and they still passed away in my arms. And yes, I felt like, that was a big realization. That was a realization to me that things don't work the way that you may want them to work out. I mean, at the end, I see my two girls again. But I realized some things just don't work out we want it to. Big thing is like, how are you going to react in it? Are you going to fold, break down, lose hope, lose faith, don't want to talk to God because your husband left you, or your wife dipped out on you? Are you going to go back in the world and say, I can't be lonely? Because I even thought about that too. And I'm like, Lord, you created male. You created it. And sometimes I